decade of the 1960s heralded the dawn of the age of missile warfare at sea. The missile replaced the big gun on warships in the ubiquitous quest for supremacy at sea. The Indian missile program saw its genesis in 1968, when an Indian delegation visited the erstwhile Soviet Union and signed a deal for purchasing 8 missile boats of the OSA Class 1. A revolution in warship design, these 38-meter-long boats packed a formidable punch. Even as these boats were being built at Odessa on the Black Sea, over 200 Indian naval personnel were simultaneously being trained to man these fine ships at Vladivostok. In the middle of 1970, these boats started arriving in Calcutta, transported on heavy-lift merchant ships. Commissioned in Calcutta, these 8 ships were subsequently towed to Bombay and later formed the 25th Missile Vessel Squadron. In 1976, the Navy acquired a second batch of 8 improved OSA Class 2 boats from the Soviet Union, thus augmenting its firepower even further. A decade later, in 1987, the squadron evolved with the acquisition of the first of the 5 1241RE class missile vessels. Subsequently, 6 of these ships were built at Bombay and Goa, forming a total of 11 formidable missile vessels. Powered by gas turbines which propel the ships at the top speed of 40 knots and armed with 4 anti-ship missiles, anti-air and surface guns, and surface-to-air missiles, these swift boats pack a powerful punch. The squadron's legacy of speed, stealth, and devastating firepower continues into the 21st century with the launching last year of the first of the 3 modified 1241RE class missile vessels, Prabal. These mini-destroyers carry a payload of 8 Uran surface-to-surface missiles along with guns and SAM. An inimitable fighting force in war, the squadron is also the Navy's sentinel during peace, ensuring the safety of our nation's seas by maintaining constant patrol and vigil on the high seas, participating in all evolution and exercises, honing their skills for the ultimate test of war. In June of this year, the motor tanker Hinsang, a mammoth 250,000-ton crude oil carrier, exploded 350 nautical miles off the Indian coast. While the stern of the ship sank, the 150-meter-long forward section of the tanker began drifting towards the shallow waters of the Indian continental shelf near Goa. This could pose a permanent navigational hazard in our waters. The only option was to sink the ship before it was too late. The Indian Navy was called on to perform a unique mission without any parallel in its history, aptly titled Operation Dubao. Nirghat answered the call of duty and sailed with dispatch to face this challenge. Sustained an accurate fire from the guns of Nirghat, started major fires on board the wreck and consigned the hull to the waters of the Arabian Sea. Operation Dubao underscored the squadron's role in peacetime operations. This was the first time that such a large ship was sunk in the world by surface guns. 2 years ago, the squadron distinguished itself in another unique operation. The Japanese freighter Alondra Rainbow set sail from Indonesia, bound for Japan. It never reached its destination. The ship, with a consignment of 7,000 tons of aluminum ingots, had been hijacked by pirates. On the 2nd of November, this vessel, now in the guise of MV Mega Ram, entered the territorial waters of India. When all attempts by the Coast Guard to stop the pirate vessel failed, Prahar was deployed to intercept the hijacked ship. The pirates paid no heed to the warning and attempted to escape beyond the limits of our exclusive economic zone. Gunfire from Prahar braked the hull of the pirate ship. As dense smoke rose from the ship on the morning of 16th November, the pirate ship finally surrendered. The Coast Guard boarded the ship and captured 10 pirates, probably the only instance in recent history of a pirate vessel being recaptured. This deed of INS Prahar evoked memories of the squadron's spectacular success in the 1971 Indo-Pak War. Our armed forces responded to the nation's call with valor and determination. For the Navy, it was coming of age, the tempering of raw iron to steel, baptism by fire. Our men met the challenge with courage, ingenuity, and undying fighting spirit. Their task was clearly defined in the inspirational words of the Chief of the Naval Staff, Admiral Nanda, whose signal to the Navy went, quote, "Pakistan has committed an unprovoked aggression against us, and our defense forces have been ordered to meet this challenge with full courage and determination. My objective is to search and destroy Pakistani warships and, along with sister services, to inflict maximum damage on the enemy war machines. No sacrifice should be too much for us. Let us write a new chapter in the history of our services." Unquote. Vice Admiral S.N. Kohli, Flag Officer Commanding-in-Chief, Western Naval Command, was directed to undertake bold and spirited forays for destroying enemy units and harbor installations. The units chosen for this task were the Osa-class missile boats of the 25th Missile Vessel Squadron. The task force chosen comprised Nipat, Veer, Nirghat, Vinash, Nashak, Vijeta, Nirbhik, and Vidyut. These recently acquired missile boats packed a formidable punch and were chosen for the role despite being primarily designed for tasks like harbor defense. They were to be deployed with ingenuity, daring, timing, and absolute emphasis on surprise. What followed became a glorious chapter in the history of Indian Navy. In an arrowhead formation, the ships crept up along the Saurashtra coast, their target, the enemy citadel, Karachi. The official story of the Pakistan Navy best illustrates the success of this attack. Quote, "The first missile struck Khyber on the starboard side at 22:45 hours. A huge flame shot up in the number 1 boiler room and thick black smoke poured out from the funnel. The second missile struck at 2300 hours. When the list to port became dangerous and the fire uncontrollable, the order to abandon ship was given. Nirghat had drawn first blood. Nipat, meanwhile, continued steering north with Veer on her starboard quarter. She fired a missile at the radar contact that was detected at 25 miles. This was the merchantman Venus Challenger, which sank 26 miles south of Karachi. About 40 miles from Karachi, Nite fired another missile towards the harbour entrance. The missile set the fuel tanks of the harbour and other maritime facilities ablaze, a fire that took 4 days to extinguish. Veer, by now well astern, also attacked a contact fine on a starboard bow. The missile scored a bullseye on the minesweeper Mohafiz, which immediately broke up and sank. These missile attacks took the enemy by surprise and were ample testimony to the professionalism and bravery of the Indian Navy. The Chief of Naval Staff was elated. Quote, "Operation Trident successful. Karachi ablaze. I am proud of you." 2300 hours, the 8th December 1971. Operation Python. Barely had Pakistan had the time to get over the devastation of Operation Trident when the missile boat struck again. This time from the west, Vinaj, true to her name, headed fearlessly for Karachi in the company of Trishul and Talwar of the Western Fleet and fired all her 4 missiles towards the entrance of the Karachi harbour. Missiles struck ships in harbour, sinking merchant vessel Harmatan and damaging SS Gulfspan and the Pakistani tanker Dwarka. An official account of the Pakistani Navy reports that the first missile flew over the ships at anchorage crossing Manora Island and crashing into an oil tank of the Kimari oil farm. There was a huge explosion and the flames shot up high. The fire caused by the 4th December attack had only been put out a day earlier. Fire once again raged in the oil farm after short-lived respite. Trishul's cryptic signal summed up the feeling of the Indians. "This is the best Diwali we have seen." The Times of India report on this attack is ample testimony to its deadly effect. Today calls for a salute to the Navy. These swift operations had a dramatic effect. They crippled the morale of the Pakistani Navy, enforced blockade and imposed total sea control. To bag 3 enemy warships in a single engagement, barely 20 miles from the Pakistani shore, without any loss to our naval task force, makes the achievement sensational. But what makes these operations altogether unique in maritime history is that the performance was repeated within 72 hours. It was done with such impunity that the Indian fleet went within 8 miles of the Karachi shore batteries to attack the entire 300 miles Pakistani coast from Karachi to Jiwani. Victory finally came when General A.A.K. Niazi capitulated on the Eastern Front and the Indian armed forces emerged victorious. In a moment of crisis, the Indian Navy had triumphed with honor, glory and elan. The President of India decorated many a gallant individual in recognition of their bravery and dedicated selfless service to the nation. However, greater military honor was the title Killers that was permanently bestowed on the missile vessel Squadron as a tribute to its audacious killer spirit.